the 5 pillars of prosperity works and why it works and why I used it and why I am who I am because of it. So the 5 pillars of prosperity, of course, as you know, is I started my journey with the book Controlling the Debt Monster. It's on Amazon. It's in 2002, published in 2009. The whole idea was to let people know that debt is a monster. And when the monster moves in your life, welcome back, Betty, it is terrible. And the stories in here are true. I just changed the name to protect them. So that was my very first book. And I worked at the bank at the time, financial planner like Betty and Colleen, that's where we were. And I looked at how money was just flying through from the bank to people. And I kept thinking, it's going to blow. It has to stop. So I started writing the book. And it's just starting with a couple that were dating and they were young and this is, and they got together. And then there's the young man that family does not believe in debt, never had a credit card, yet he couldn't do anything his friends did. He thought he could rent a car with $5,000 cash as a deposit. And he came to me. And then, of course, there's the entrepreneur. And that is very interesting. And that case is really, so there are 3 case studies in this book that I used of people I was helping even before I wrote this book. So in coaching others, you want to know where the 5 pillars came from. This is how it started. In coaching one particular young man, I still see him off and on. And I've been coaching him. And I'm observing his situation. And then I suddenly, something like an aha moment, it's not finance. Finance is there in his life, but he has an emotional situation happening, like it's something else. I didn't even know the word. I knew the word emotional, but I didn't associate it with what he was experiencing. It was that defeated attitude. And then one day he was, when he first came to me, he had a phone, an Android. And then he was using it. And he said, look, I don't like this, but I'm using an Android. You know what? I keep thinking if I get an iPhone, which I really, really want, people will think I am just a show-off. Oh, okay. So then I started listening. I'm saying, that has nothing to do with finance. Why are you bringing that up? And he slammed the phone on my kitchen table. And I went, okay, I got it. And then he starts talking. I'm the last in my family. And it's always, you shut up. You don't know enough. You're too young. What you know, I would win something at school. And they'll say, oh, that's good. And so nobody paid attention to me, he kept saying. And I'm saying to him, but you are here and you have a plan. So then I noticed it was just, he started just letting himself go even further. His wife was very successful already, a high school teacher, and he was still working, and he was comparing himself to his friend who is now a doctor, who they went to high school, his cousin who he recommended to me, so successful, and he isn't. I was just lost for words. I kept looking at him, and I'm seeing a different human being, and I'm saying finance isn't his problem. So I listened, and of course, I meditated. Then I started looking at the world. I started looking at people that had all the money in the world, yet they did so many stupid things. And a lot of times they're famous people, like, different actors and actresses that, they just, all the wealth and all the accumulation of the money couldn't give them what they were looking for. And then so when the next time I saw him a month later, I realized this is his emotion. So we worked on his emotion. Then I noticed he started gaining weight. He stopped going to the gym. What's the point? And I'm going, physical is good. Then he got laid off from the job he had because he was pushing so hard and they kept saying, you're not qualified for this position yet. Eventually they fired him. That just made hell worse. Then he started working at part-time. When you want something big and all of a sudden you're working part-time for your in-laws, cleaning family at night, that really took his soul away. He just lost it. And then I realized he gave up on his religion and, he had to have certain things he was buying. He was just going crazy with everything and it was affecting the family. So then that's when I started spending a lot of time in meditation and figuring out what is going on. And I then In the middle of the night, in sleep, it came to me. There are 5 things in life that has to be working together for you to be successful. The 5 things I was told in this dream is that, like your fingers on your hand, you need all 5, although some you use more than others, but you still need all 5 to be working. Simple thing, if you got a cut, the finger is telling me, if you cut one finger, things are not working. That's what he said to me. Your finger is broken, one, and then you can't grasp this cup properly. If I try to hold this mug and stick out this finger, look at what's going on. And that's what I was told in this dream. And then I realized, and then I'm still thinking, what are they? I knew emotional and physical from him was right. I saw spiritual looming because he was losing his connection and believing in himself, which he had before. And of course, we all know that that's your spiritual pillar. So by the time I got it, financial was going to always be part of my life. I grew up in a financial family that had businesses. So finance was going to be big in my life, no matter what I did. But to see emotional and see mental decline because of one leaning on the other that's already broken, spiritual giving up, and it still happens today. And my cousin called me to inform me how unhappy she was with God because he took her husband a year earlier. And then I realized, oh my God, this is just a very bad thing. So I decided to put them together in this book called The 5 Pillars of Prosperity. And people want the explanation. No. Emotional is one pillar. Mental is another. Physical is another. Spiritual is another. And yes, prosperity is financial. But in the old days, the days before we have everything so modern, the more children you had, the more successful you were financially. That's what they told you. Because they could work and build a family up. This is the same thing here right now. The 5 pillars of prosperity. The more healthy you are emotionally, the better you can do and think. You react appropriately when the 5 senses hurts you. So emotional prosperity is how leans entirely, the meaning of it through the 5 pillars of prosperity is how you lean on what happens when your emotions is going crazy because the 5 senses did something. We react. When we hear music or loud noise or the ambulance, we react. We are frightened or we are joyful or we start criticizing. The second one, if we taste something we do not like, we make a face. If we taste it, we have a better feeling. Emotional reaction to what we taste, we hear. When we smell a nice perfume, we linger there. When we smell something disgusting, we do not want to go there. See how we react? And then, of course, there we are with our touch. We touch something that's not smooth and nice, and we react to that. So, all the 5 pillars, we hear, we smell, we taste, we touch, and we see. And we criticize or we enjoy the beautiful rose. We look at the person that is sitting outside because they're no housing. And we criticize them. We make assumptions about them. So, and that's what emotional does. But all our emotions are triggered by our 5 senses. Then there is mental prosperity. It's not how smart you are. It's not how many degrees you have. It has nothing to do with that. Your mental prosperity is being able to go through life and continue improving it because you want to. But be able to recall what you have learned or what you know and apply it appropriately at the correct time. Is keeping that pillar healthy, makes you more prosperous because now you can control, and you can grow, or you can decide to look at things. You can use what you know and teach appropriately, teach someone else. Like mine is finance. I teach how to manage your income, how to get your life together through the 5 pillars. So I'm keeping my mental prosperity I'm healthy. I play chess with a computer. It wins all the time. I practice different languages. It's just, and then I keep abreast of the financial news and study them so I can teach you or coach you. Then we look at physical, the ability to stand up from a chair without holding, the ability to walk, the ability to be able to move. What do you do? Sitting and saying. Like, I have friends who are worse now because they're older, because they had decided, I retire, I am just going to sit and watch TV all day. Well, after a while, still water does smell when it doesn't run, right? A rolling stone gathers no moss. You put a stone to sit and you leave it out there, very soon things will grow on it. It will not be able to move. So we have to keep moving. And physically, you don't have to be doing 2 hours of exercise. Great. If you're young and you can do it, then do it. But if you're my age, you walk. And yes, it's cold. Oh, Tessa-Marie, I can't go outside. I said, well, why don't you walk around your house for 10 minutes? Put it on a timer. I call it an indoor walk. But why do I live in a small place? Well, do it more times then. The point is, you will notice when you move, a body in motion stays in motion, right? Lotion is motion. Motion is lotion. You put it on, it works. So that's what we have to realize. Now, spiritually, it's not a religion. I am not talking about your faith, my faith, their faith. No. I'm talking about accepting yourself first. That is spiritual prosperity. I am who I am. It is as it is. It's not going to change. There is nothing wrong with any of us that God puts on this earth. No matter how you do not like that person, your opinion of them does not affect them. You can tell them they're not good enough. You will hurt them and then they won't like you. But what about if you just shut up your mouth and do not tell people that they're not good enough, that they're too short, they're too fat, they cannot do this, you cannot that. You see, you're straddling in someone else's lane. You need to stay in your lane and mind your business. Work on you. I am good enough. Yes, I'm going to be 80. Yes, there are days when I get up, something is cricky and cranky, and I just say to it, listen, we have stuff to do. We need to go get the morning blessings going. Somebody, one person in another 30 years needs to hear my